Welcome back to the final episode of Storytime with Mr. Bates for the 2019-2020 school year. I hope you're all doing well and that you've gotten some time to enjoy some sunshine outside. Since this is my last episode before summer break, I figured we'd take a look at some ancient festivals and holidays that our ancestors used to celebrate. Now, when I was making this list, I took only one summer celebration per culture. And I even included a couple of cultures that we haven't really talked about before on this channel. When I was selecting these entries, I was looking specifically for festivals or holidays that take place in June, July, or August. I know that technically summer goes into September, but when you think of summer months, you don't really tend to include September, so I didn't include it here. Anyway, sit back and enjoy the final episode for this school year. We start this list with people near and dear to my heart, the Norse. I love this group in particular because quite a few of their most popular myths can be summarized as hitting a problem until it's no longer a problem. Their contribution to this list is a harvest festival called Lithisblot, or Lithisblot. Now, this festival was celebrated from July 31st to August 1st and was dedicated to the goddess Urda. Urda was an earth goddess associated with, harvest and stuff like that to a lot of Nordic and Germanic tribes, and is believed to have been the inspiration behind the modern idea of Mother Nature. So when someone mentions Mother Nature, know that they're actually referring back to a pagan earth goddess from the Norse and Germanic cultures. People who celebrated this holiday were said to give freely to those less fortunate than them during this time, as well as baking a special kind of bread, which also might have been given out. Details are a little fuzzy on this. It was also supposed to have been a time when their wise men could better perform their magical rituals. Now, I'm not sure I understand what correlation there is between baking bread as a thanks for a harvest and supernatural power, but there you go. I'm not an ancient Norseman, so I guess it's not my place to judge. This one is still celebrated today in Zanzibar, actually. The Mwaka Kagwa festival is believed to be linked to ancient Persian New Year celebrations, along with old Zoroastrian traditions. For those that don't know, Zoroastrianism is believed to have been one of, if not the first, monotheistic religions. We talked about it before on this channel, but just a quick reminder for you, I guess I should say. Like many East African festivals, there's plenty of feasting, singing, and dancing all throughout the festival, which takes place on the 23rd or 24th of July. It varies by year, but it's one of those 2 days every year. But they also participate in a series of rituals that are meant to bring good luck. The celebration starts with two men from the village fighting one another to release all of their anger from the previous year. These fights used to be real, almost like gladiatorial combat. They were real fights with real weapons and could potentially be fatal in certain cases. Modern day celebrations of Mwaka Kagwa don't have real weapons, and the fights are far less lethal. They're still real, just you're not likely to die from it. Following the fight, the women of the village dress up in their nicest clothes and walk through the village. They actually walk through the village and the farms and the whole area, singing songs about family and community. Then the village's healer burns a hut, watches which way the smoke blows, and then announces whether the village will have good or bad luck the following year based on the wind and how the smoke is blowing. After all of this is done, they dig into a large feast. Aside from the fighting, I think this actually sounds like a pretty cool little festival. As you probably already know, the culture of ancient Egypt was tied very closely to the Nile River, and for good reason. It was one of the few reliable sources of fresh water. It provided water for their crops, for them to drink, for their animals to clean with. It was a very important resource, and it also allowed for them to travel quickly up and down the coastline of their kingdom for troop movement or just to ship things or to travel. With that in mind, it shouldn't be any surprise that a lot of their holidays are also built around the Nile River, even their New Year celebration. That's right. Like the Mwaka Kagwa, Wapet Renpet, which means opening of the year, is a New Year's celebration. The date shifted, but when I say the date shifted, it kind of moves around in the calendar, but it's believed to have been celebrated most commonly in July and is based on when the Nile would flood. Ancient Egyptians celebrated this holiday with feasts, music, dancing, offerings to the gods at temples, and feasts for the gods, in the name of the gods. Eventually, Hatshepsut also links it to the goddess Sekhmet, the goddess of war, and the story where she was deceived by Ra with red beer to not attack all of humanity. She made that link. It wasn't something that was originally there. But still, sounds like a pretty good way to ring in the new year, having a good big old party with your whole neighborhood. Now, because the Chinese calendar is lunisolar, meaning it is based on both the moon and the sun, while the Gregorian calendar that we use is purely solar, meaning it's based just on the sun, the date for this festival sort of moves around in our calendar. It's been in late May, early June, and this year it's going to be June 25th. The festival itself features exciting boat races and other naval activities, but it has multiple stories about what it's celebrating in particular. Since I don't want this video to be too long, I'll be telling you about the most famous story, and the one most commonly believed to be the origin of the festival, the Q Yuan story. Again, it's a Chinese name. I'm not certain how to pronounce it. It's spelled Q-U-Y-U-A-N, so I'm saying Q Yuan. According to this story, the Dragon Boat Festival commemorates the death of Q Yuan, a poet and minister who lived in the ancient Chinese state of Chu during the period of warring states under the Zhou dynasty. He served in several important jobs in the Chu royal house, working his way up as he went. But when they decided to form an alliance with the Qin, the family and state that would eventually take over after the end of the period of warring states, Q was kicked out of his position in the royal house because he opposed that alliance. He understood that the Qin were trying to conquer China and that their alliance wasn't going to be very strong for very long. Eventually, they were going to be invaded. After being kicked out, Q wrote a lot of poetry and became a pretty popular figure all throughout Chu. That is, until the Qin arrived and, as he predicted, took control. When this happened, he walked out into the nearby river. Like he just walked right into the river. People on the shore saw this and they started to freak out because they respected him, they liked him, he was a well-known figure. So they run to their boats, they start to race out to where they saw him, and no one's able to find him. They're searching for a while, speeding up and down the river, trying to find him, and no one's able to. This was believed to be the origin of the Dragon Boat races, which are a part of the Dragon Boat Festival. Another tradition that sort of stems out of this story is that after they failed to save him, people started making little sticky rice balls and dropping them into the river so that the fish would eat those and hopefully leave the body of Q Yuan alone. A little morbid, but that's how the story ends. That's how this festival is believed to have come about. At least that's one of the ways it's believed to have come about. And here they are again. Our good friends, the Romans, they have to pop their head into yet another video. And I mean, it's fitting, I guess. My first video I posted on this channel was all about living in Rome, and the last entry in the last video of this school year, we're going to be talking about the Romans again. So I guess it comes full circle. Lucario was celebrated on July 19th and 21st. Notice I said Lucaria, not Lucario. Lucario is a blue Pokemon. Lucaria is a holiday. Celebrated on July 19th and the 21st, it was celebrated in a sacred woodland grove between the Tiber River and the Via Salaria. That's about all we know about this holiday, though. The reason I included this, even though I couldn't find too much about it, is because of how funny the idea is of this holiday, and let me explain that to you. The holiday was a part of the Roman calendar for so long that people, even in Roman society later on, after the rise of the empire and well into imperial times, forgot what Lucaria was about. They didn't know what god it was trying to honor. They didn't know what they were supposed to do. They sort of knew, like, yeah, Lucaria, it's a day. We do something. We go to the sacred grove. Now, let me put that into modern terms for you. Let's say you don't know what Labor Day is. You don't know what it's for, but you see it on your calendar. So you go and you ask around, like, hey, what's Labor Day? What are we celebrating? What's it about? And no one can tell you because no one else knows either. They all just kind of go, well, I don't know. It's on our calendar, so we take the day off. That's what happened to Lucaria. And I personally think that's pretty great. You gotta love the Romans. That's just gold to me. And with that, we come to the end of our list. I hope you enjoyed learning about some of these summer traditions from around the world. I find it particularly funny that even the Romans couldn't remember what a Roman holiday was supposed to be celebrating, but that's just me. Now let's take a look at the question of the day. If you had to, which of these would you like to celebrate? As always, leave your answer in the comments below. Please remember to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more weird, interesting, or strange history stories. I will probably resume making videos in the fall with the start of the new school year. We'll see what the future holds, I guess. As always, have a great rest of your day, you lovely, lovely people. Bye.